about that Ranger Reject episode? Yeah, let's talk about that.
翡翠カノンだ。ずっと探してたぜ、お前のこと。
This episode picks up with X's leading Blue and D to their boss monster. We get to see some more bits of character from Blue where he gets impatient and starts stabbing X's. I'll be talking about episodes 8 through 9 tomorrow, by the way, so mark your calendars. But this is so she knows not to try and fool him and lead him nowhere or waste his time. Though D is able to use the guise of Sakurama well because he tells Blue that, hey, isn't it better to treat them with respect? After all, she's their captive despite being their enemy. But I like how Blue twists that logic by saying, no, it's not the monsters who are the enemies, it's the boss monsters. And I thought that was a pretty cruel line and further makes the monsters the underdog because pretty much nobody in this world sees these monsters as a real threat besides, I don't know, maybe a couple dudes or kids in the Sunday Showdown. And I mean, why would you? A normal human can shatter their mimic ability by practically giving them a firm handshake. So they go into this place that's in the ranger facility somehow. I'm not sure how that works. I hope that's explained. That houses the boss monster Peltrola, and I guess his true form, or I don't know how to describe it, but is like a tree-like being, which Blue immediately shoots with the dragon artifact using Manifest. It then drops these eggs or orbs, which start to hatch as Peltrola proclaims the boss monsters to be beings that are above that of humans or dragon keepers. But from the egg hatches this alien chicken angel-looking creature, and I guess creatures, and I must admit, the designs for them are really good, and the CGI models as well are top-notch quality, which isn't too surprising. It makes sense. This show seems to have a pretty modest budget, and this episode is a really good showcase of that in general. So Blue once again attacks Peltrola with his fish orbs, but they just keep hatching more and more, and the pace was pretty quick here, but it's balanced out with this insane beam battle between the two, leading to Blue stabbing them and fighting them off repeatedly. Such a cool moment, which then leads to X's and D going to Peltrola, where D meets with him for the first time, and surprisingly, D is actually scared and puts his hands on his weapon to prepare to fight. And yeah, we know how this turns out, but Peltrola then asks him if he's ready for world domination. And in a surprising twist, D remembers all of the independents he fought with, like Shion and Angel, and actually tries to kill Peltrola? So, okay, let's talk about this. In front of a shocked X's, he slashes Peltrola in this really cool moment that I didn't see coming at all. Now, it's not too surprising considering where we are at in the story, but I was still surprised to see D actually kill and betray one of their own, or at least, one of the many manifestations of him. And even D is surprised for a moment. He doesn't even quite realize what he did. So, my guess is that he had to think on the fly as he thought the boss monsters were dead and his plans hinged around them not being alive. So when he found out of their existence, knowing he has this overarching plan, likely decided that he has to get rid of Peltrola as it would completely disregard his own goals, which is basically confirmed by the end of this episode. But there are some consequences to that, like X's, who was given purpose by Peltrola, even given, her name by him. But X's, she's basically like, whose side are you on? Humans? Monsters? I thought I could put my trust into you. Which shows X's soft side and how she genuinely felt safe and protected when D saved her from Blue. But now she's confused, and I like that about X's. Her character so far seems to have this growing confliction between the sides of humans and monsters, where she's clearly on the side of monsters right now, but also has this side of her where, at least when it comes to Sakurama, she actually likes him, or at least it was implied. Then you also consider the fact that she seems intimidated by Peltrola in previous episodes and is very submissive towards him, and it makes sense. She sees these boss monsters as their races, their parents, and that very well may be true, but there is this little kernel of X's character where she's clearly conflicted, and I think that all hinges on her relationship with D and Sakurama right now. But we see that Peltrola is looking up this giant hole that Blue created, and it's such a fantastic shot because it looks like this tunnel to the heaven, which is apropos, but also this is bad because if he escapes through the hole to the surface, then he will basically be able to feed on humans, which I guess now confirms how boss monsters eat. They eat people. So we know a bit better the boss monster's motivations for coming to Earth, as they likely see humans as a source of sustenance, and thus the need to create dragon keepers to, fend them off. It also checks with what Blue said about boss monsters being their true enemies and the regular Sintoines being, more or less their grunts. But if you think they'll just let Petrola sit around, well, they've got another thing coming, because we see from the shaft descent volleys of fire to reveal none other than Yumeko, Tokito, Hisui, and Masurao. They've come to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and by God, they're all out of gum. We sort of, with Tokito, get this great shot where he fires his weapon and it shoots out like these dragon flames. Very clearly, this shot is somewhat heavily inspired from Gundam Wing Endless Waltz, when Wing Gundam fires an overpowered shot from his railgun, just destroying it with every blast. We then see Peltrola attack with his own beam, but Masurao literally parries the attack with a replica of a divine artifact, most likely Incest Keepers, and that's what we're calling her now. And as well, we get a reveal of Yumiko's powers, which, like I had theorized, is basically just tech. Yumiko literally pauses and fast forwards time with like a generic DVD controller? So it seems that Yumiko's reason for being in R&D is just as I suspected. She a smart bitch. Masurao, thinking they actually got him, nearly dies, but Hisui, using her divine artifact, eats his beam blast, and apparently from the taste alone of his blast, phrasing I know, figures that it's Peltrola. Now, let's hope he ate a lot of pineapple that day. So after another attack from Tokita and Hisui, they all work together and Yumiko mutes the battle and get this, tells Peltrola to eliminate the junior first ranks quickly, meaning everyone in her class of juniors. So Hisui, Komachi, Masurao, and as well, you have to think, this is a very clever way to use her powers to mute herself to others, only being heard by Peltrola. In many ways, Yumiko has the most overpowered tech because she's able to defy and change the laws of physics and bend them to her own command, like it's literally the press of a button. Also, Yumiko giving me bad vibes right now. We asked how Peltrola was able to be in the Ranger facility. Well, Yumiko said in this episode to hurry up and kill the juniors to Peltrola, so do they stay in contact? Is this the reason why he's in this facility? But anyways, this does give me bad vibes about Yumiko now, because before we knew about the juniors, we thought everyone were kind of like the Dragon Keepers, which is evil assholes. But with Komachi and Hisui, it's clear that the juniors are generally more morally centered. So it creates this conflict where it's like, I like Yumiko and her goals, but like, I don't like the fact that she wants these juniors to die because they're some of the only good people in this organization with any sort of real power and competency. That being said, who knows? Komachi could be eating babies and Hisui could be a drug dealer to troubled youths all along. We'll have to wait and see. But X's continues to put her life on the line as Peltrola uses her body as a shield, allowing him to escape. But D is able to save her from Blue's attack, sparing her life. And for some reason, X's reminds me of like early Eren Yeager from Attack on Titan. And I don't know why. I think it could be the fact that she is so eager to sacrifice herself and put her in these situations that clearly show her misguided fealty for Peltrola. I don't know, but something about her reminds me of Eren right now. We then get this strange sequence with the main theme, which sounds like Danny Elfman, which, as an aside, the main theme in this anime is kick-ass. So good. Easily one of the most memorable main themes to come out of anime this year and this current decade. But it's funny, we see this red carpet and together both D and X's are walking it now, the new overlords of the monsters and humans. They live in luxury. They pay the chef with an autograph. We see the independents are all there. Even Kogama is. And there he reveals that these group of people are special, meaning clearly that he sees them as his friends and he cares about them now. But the scene is pretty humorous as well, as D just flaunts his cash, feeds everyone to a lavish dinner, which reveals that this takes place after the humans lost to the war. Very clearly, this is not reality though, as Peltrola shows up and kills the chef. I also like that it was a little cheesy, but I like the touch of the autograph for his daughter falling to the ground so the audience knows that Peltrola is a really bad dude. It was pretty over the top in concept because this is like a daydream, but we already know how bad Petrola was. It was just humorous and funny symbolism all around though. And I can relate to this. When I drink Gamer Subs using my code CTactics to get 10% off all orders site-wide, I also get weird dreams where all of my friends die and my inner conscious tells me to stop trying to destroy the world. So all of the independents then willingly are wiped out by Peltrola as they have committed a mortal sin, and Peltrola turns into Sakurama, revealing that his future is what D's goal looks like when he destroys the Rangers and achieves world domination. All of his friends die by his own hand. Ooh, so fun. And so his consciousness, symbolized through Sakurama, essentially asks himself to give up on his goals. He then comes back to see X's crawling on the ground, reaching out for Peltrola, and really just questioning and searching for a purpose. She's supposed to destroy the Rangers, but what now? Her father has abandoned her. So what is the purpose of X's, and what is the purpose of D? They're both in a state where their future is very uncertain and their characters are being challenged. Afterwards, we then focus on Shion's group, which has been out of the battle for a while, but they do know the monsters infiltrated the facility. They realize they basically lost, and instead of cheating to get the keys, they want to win it fair and square, honorably, which then leads to Ishikawa apologizing as he sees this as his fault. So between Shion wanting to win honorably and Ishikawa apologizing, it feels like they're trying to get these group of people back in a good light, morally speaking, to remind you, hey, they aren't the bad guys. They are just people who tried to win and live their dreams of being Rangers, which is true. These people aren't the antagonists. They just filled the role in the context of that exam or those episodes. They were ruthless, mean, and pretty unfair, but it's nothing personal. It was just an exam after all. It's not like they killed a puppy or something. Well, you never know. But Yukino then runs into Peltrola, sees him, turns around, runs back, and is like, yeah, sorry, I ran into the wrong person, which I think is one of the humorous scenes they left in from the manga because they've cut out a lot of comedy. This just felt like Yukino randomly ignoring what she saw. So keep in mind, Ranger Rejects manga has a lot of comedy, like every chapter is full of it. It's a very comedic series, but you wouldn't know that because the anime adaptation pretty much strips out all of that, so that scene felt very out of place as they likely just couldn't rewrite it, so they just kept it in. Yeah, a little weird, a little funky, but it is what it is. Long story short, Shion saves Yamato's life by slashing a part of Peltrola, which is super badass for him to do and shows how courageous and brave he is to fight him one-on-one, which leads to Urabe showing back up, revealing to everyone that, this is the guy that killed Ranmaru. Peltrola then mentions that he was under the Rangers' curse and that they've committed many atrocities, which I found interesting. Is this teasing that the Rangers have put a curse over everyone? Maybe? Negiharba loves to pull from other stuff. He's a very inspired writer. So if there is an Attack on Titan level twist coming on the level of Eldia and Marley, then oh my god, sign me up, daddy. At the end of the episode, D basically proclaims that it doesn't matter what Peltrola represents. If the boss monsters don't fit into his ideals and goals, then they're as good as dead to him. After all, he is a monster, so it's pretty clever. Taking the underdog anti-hero and making them the hero by simply putting them against essentially their own side. Well, pretty much every side, every faction. So in a way, D is emancipating the monsters from the boss monsters and now sees the humans as worthy allies to his cause, possibly, as per his conversation with his inner consciousness. So from here on out, I think D is pretty much allied with the independents and the juniors, maybe? No idea what will become of the Dragon Keepers, though. If the ultimate goal is to eliminate them and become the Keepers themselves, as Yumiko wants them to be eliminated as well, which would, it would open up some slots for the, for the independents to take, right? Either way, let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the episode and where you think this series is headed next with Dee's character. This was an amazing episode, so if you could, drop a like on the video. I'd greatly appreciate it. And check out my other video on episodes 8 and 9, which is coming out tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.